that. Hello?
Hello, is that Rose?
Who's this?
Hello, hi, it's Callum. How you doing?
Who?
You know, I got your number from, I got your number from Freddie.
Who? I'm sorry, who are you?
It's Callum
Who's Callum?
from church.
Okay.
Callum from church, hello.
Right, fine, whatever. What do you
I
want?
just wanted to ring you because I had I know this is going to sound totally random, but I had a vision. And in this vision, honestly, I kid you not, it's not something I put together, but in this vision, we were walking down the beach, and then at the bottom of the beach, there was like, a beautiful wedding that was prepared for us, and me and you walked up to, where the castle was, and then we got married.
Right.
And honestly, I think just from that, I could tell that I do love you.
You love me? Do you even know me?
Well, what I know actually tells me that I love you, and I know I want to get married to you, and this is what I've seen in the vision, and I know visions, they're God sent and they help us just kind of find our way, and so I want to say, I want to get married to you.
I'm sorry, we haven't. This is like our first conversation. What do you mean you love me? You have no idea who I am.
Well, I think this is what God has ordained, and that's why I had the vision. And as I said, in the vision, we were walking down this beach, which must be the path of life. And then together we kind of held hands and we got married.
Callum, do you know what happened to prophets whose prophecies didn't come true?
Well, they got stoned.
Yeah.
Honestly, the only stone that we're going to get is the stone that I'm going to put on your finger.
Mate, honestly, please take your visions elsewhere. Goodbye. Ridiculous. Hey ladies, put your hands up if Callum has happened to you.
Poor soul. By the way, we don't know anyone called Callum. Well, actually, I do, but
He hasn't said he
he's
hasn't had any visions of any people.
So, yeah. Callum, if you're listening, it's not you we're talking about, by the way. But if you have had a Callum ring you with a vision.
I've had a vision from the Lord. I've had a vision from the Lord. Hallelujah. Anyway, guys. Right. One of my pet peeves about guys like Callum is that they call girls, right? Firstly, they get their number from somebody random, right? They're sneaky about the way that they get this girl's number. Like, she doesn't even know Freddie, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? And then it's like, hi, I got your number from Freddie and I've had a vision. They come up with the supernatural nonsense. So that's kind of trying to disarm the girl because it's like, if you're none the wiser, you'd think, oh, it's a vision from the Lord. And if you're one of those... Sorry. And if, sadly, you might be one of those girls who would buy into that, then you might get hoodwinked that Callum actually loves you.
I think every girl has their, alarm bells ringing at that point because, first of all, from what we've just established, Callum has no clue or doesn't know anything about Rose. Or he doesn't know enough.
He's just seen her.
And he's at a place where, he's saying he's ready to actually walk down the aisle or walk down the beach, be married. But, again, we don't have context about anything.
He loves her. He loves her.
Yeah. And from what we understand, this is the first conversation that they've actually had. The first interaction that they've had where they've actually probably recognised and known each other or of each other.
Just unacceptable, really.
And I guess that's the worrying thing. So
the level of pressure that puts on a girl, for starters, is like, firstly, it's a vision from the Lord. Secondly, it's that I love you. So, like, this is your first interaction with somebody and it's like, they've had a vision from the Lord and they love me. It's like, whoa. Let's slow down a little bit. Even if Callum's vision was right. And
that's the other thing.
Even if she was the one for him, he ain't going to go so far with that.
No. I think there are basic laws around, interaction, engagement that, he's just overstepped. And so when we're thinking about, networking, for example, if you go to a new event, where there's new people, you're not just going to show up and say, hi, I really like you.
Hi, I love you.
To a new client, to a new person that you just met and say, hey, I really like you and I really love you. Well, actually, might come across like a sleazy, kind of awkward person.
Ooh, you're a bit much. I would say Callum probably needs to take a step back,
Okay.
If he does have a vision from the Lord, and if this vision is actually accurate, then he needs to get evidence. He needs to try it by the word so that he's not stoned.
Right. Yeah.
And he needs to have a bit of game, you know? Maybe at church, smile at Rose and say hi.
I was going to say, credit to the guy though, because he actually had game.
No, that wasn't game.
He talked about the rock. And,
That wasn't game. I'm so sorry.
So I guess let's ask the question then. For Rose, on the other side of the phone call, how will somebody like that know what to do within that situation? Because they'll probably look at that situation, you know, after they put the phone down and think, well, am I overreacting? Do I need to take time out to actually
Somebody like Rose.
look at this? Yeah.
I
We're
think,
talking about the character on,
I think
on the
Rose
phone
would
call, right?
literally not even care about Callum. Like, I think
Right, okay.
with that kind of an interaction, Rose would just be like, dude,
Right.
see you later. I don't even think she would consider Callum because he just comes across
So to any
as like,
Callums that are listening, you're being told straight off the cuff, do not
don't
do
do it.
that.
Like, just don't do it.
Right, okay.
If you have had a dream, if you have an inclination that this person might be the one, please have some game. Like, okay, if it's long distance, it might be difficult. But if you go to the same church, start by saying hello in person.
With a smile on your face.
How are you doing? Can I help you with that?
And make sure you got a nice haircut, you know.
Make
clean
yourself
shaven,
known
look
to
sharp.
this person in a discreet way without asserting your love for them. Actually find out about them first because you might be wrong, Callum.
But could it be that there are guys who think by saying I love you, that is the conversation opener to say, you know, I'm not going to pretend that I'm here for anything else. I'm here because I am willing to lay my claim, willing to commit, or to show my commitment, you know, where I'm at, put my money where my mouth is.
No, I would just say that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody in the beginning.
Okay.
If you called and said, hey, you know, I've seen you around at church, I wouldn't personally, getting the number from Freddie is just wrong, you know. I would get her number from her.
Freddie, we don't want you giving away numbers. Don't do that, Freddie.
No, first talk to the pastor, her dad, or whichever way your church does it, right? Get permission to actually talk to this girl. Don't just be stepping in her life like you don't even know. She might even be engaged to somebody else, right? You have no idea. And then your vision is legit not from the Lord. Like, come on. You know, if you see me at church without my wedding ring and you don't know that I'm married to Marco, you might step to me and be like, oh, I've had a vision from the Lord. I'll be like, brother, y'all need to go to the altar.
No, just be careful because now you're a rock of offence.
That actually happened. Wait, that actually happened.
It did happen.
That actually happened.
It did happen.
We went to a youth
camp.
and somebody was chatting me up basically.
And the funny thing is, I was actually stood there and Bethel just kind of walked off and then...
No, I think...
Is that the one you talking about?
No, not that one. That's before we got married. That's before we
got
got married. But after we got married in Belgium,
I do remember.
somebody was chatting me up and I was like... Then I clocked like, okay. Then I was like, oh...
They think I'm single.
My husband is... And they're like, oh, you're married? Yes, to Mark.
Like, oh, sorry,
Guys.
Mark.
Guys. But this is why it's so important to actually just have some initial conversation to find out, because quite quickly on you might actually hear the girl saying, oh yeah, my boyfriend so-and-so,
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know,
That is
whoever.
That is true.
You save yourself a lot of problems. But I think what's really important for this conversation, you know, because we're not really giving tips about how to approach a girl, but we'll do a video on that, because actually I think that's really important in this day and age. We're actually talking about...
Yeah, the guys are going to need a lot of game.
No, they need game, bro.
And there's a lot more to learn around...
They need game.
Yeah, how to actually approach.
How to approach a
and how
girl. I think that should be our next video.
Well, I guess it just reminds me of, you know, if you're in sales and you're thinking about how to win a client, you know, then there's all sorts of frameworks around that.
You don't want to be coming across as though you're desperate for this thing. Like, you know what I mean? You got to be cool. You got to be like, not too cool that you come across.
And if anything, I would encourage any of the guys out, you know, trying to go out there and, let's call it prospect, because that's the technical term. Now, there's a framework, and I think it's called the Sandler selling system, something like that. Have a look at that. It's a really good technique. It might teach you and help you to get some game when it comes to these
But
matches.
guys, let's take this a little bit more seriously now, okay? We want to talk about how do we know that this person is the one? Because Callum is saying that he's had a vision, right? And that's his thing. Like,
And it sounds like he's actually
you're the one
convinced.
because I've had a
He's
vision.
convinced that she is the one.
Yeah, but you know what? The problem with Callum is that, unfortunately, he said this to a bunch of other girls too. So he comes to Rose and Rose says, I'm really sorry, Callum. No, I don't think that, you know, I'm the right one for you. You don't even know me. So then he calls Sally and then Sally says the same thing.
Maybe his calling is changing season by season.
I'm so sorry, like week by week.
Week Right.
How are you in love with one girl this week and next week you're in love with the other? I'm really sorry.
Okay, so what's becoming apparent is there's something going on with Callum that needs to be addressed.
Callum probably doesn't know what love means for starters.
Okay.
Number one, right? Okay.
Or what he's
love
looking
is a big
for.
word.
And what he's actually looking for.
And he doesn't actually know what he's looking for. He doesn't actually know, like, he's probably seen a bunch of pretty girls and thought, yeah,
Let me try my luck.
I could try my luck. Maybe she comes to church every week. You know, she teaches Sunday school. She's always with the kids. That means she'd be a great mother. Really? Oh yeah, she helps with the cooking at church. That means she'll cook me good meals. It's like, really? Whilst those things could be little signs that she's a good person, it doesn't mean that she's the right one for you.
True.
So Marco, how did we know that we were the right people for each other?
And that's a great question because we went through a process of first discovery. I say discovery because we really got to know each other.
Yeah.
And it helped that obviously Bethel and myself, we knew each other from when we were teeny bops,
Yes,
you know, little kids.
Definitely.
And so growing up together, I had an idea of who Bethel was. We were really good friends.
Exactly
I
who
know, but
like,
I'm saying it for the sake of context, you know. But we still had to go through a season where we actually, I guess we were dating to see if there was potential, you know, if this was what we wanted.
Yeah.
And it was through that season that I began to become more convinced and actually become more resolute about actually, I really do like this girl. And if anything, I want to live with this girl.
Exactly. I mean, if anything, Marco's in the best position to come up to me, like, and go, hey, I've had a vision from the Lord, right? Because he's known me all his life. And we're like best friends. So if anything, he's like in a better position to do that. Did he do that? No, he did not do that. No. He did not put that level of pressure on me at all.
Yeah, because I guess what I'm thinking about when you said that is how, you know, it's that thing about, you know, a man has been given the responsibility to go out and carry out and, you know, either use game to win over, you know, his wife or his queen or princess or whatever he wants to call her. But then you're putting that responsibility and that onus on, well, no, actually, you put it on God. So you say, well, God has sent me with a vision to say, you are my wife.
That's a good one.
And I think that's a
really good one.
Yeah, you really have to own it.
It's true, because then the level of pressure, you know, I've literally seen girls, and guys, a little bit more serious, I've literally seen girls melt down when they've had those phone calls, because then they're like, he said he fasted, he said he prayed, so does that mean I'm not a Christian? Does that mean, like, what if he is the one? And, you know, all this level of confusion that happens. And then, do you know what? Another thing I do not like is when guys don't take no for an answer. Like, honestly, that really irritates me, because that's not respectful at all.
I think it's really difficult though, because for guys, it's like, it's a sign of persistence, consistency. And it's like, I'm really committed to this. And so, you know, but yes, there is a point.
You need to respect the girl. Even if the girl says no, and if you are 100% convinced that this is your wife, you need to take a step back. You need to play from the distance. Play from the distance, right? Give her a chance to get to know you from a distance where there's no pressure, right? Don't be all up in her face, continuously calling, finding other avenues, going through Facebook. I am talking to you. If you are watching this video and you are doing that, you need to back up, brother. Like, no more, please. You are causing anxiety to these girls. And it ain't gonna get you what you want, in all honesty.
And I think this experience is all about respect, which is what Bethel's talking about, where, you know, we live in a society where people can say no, right? And this is what we've got to. So if somebody does say, you know, just give me some space, respectfully, please give them some space.
Yeah.
And just let them process whatever emotions they're going through. And also, you might need that time to actually just figure out, is this exactly what I want?
Or what God wants for me.
Or what God wants for you. Because the other thing that I was going to mention is how, yes, you might have a vision, but has God shown the same vision to the other person?
Yes.
Because we genuinely believe that God speaks on both sides.
100%.
And so if God speaks on both sides, you know, if it's a yes on your side, there should be a yes on the other side.
Yes, like I'll give an example of a couple that did have the brother did have a dream or something like that. And he said, oh, I know that this is my wife. He said, but Lord, if she is my wife, she will call me at this time. And legit, she called at that time. And he said, okay, Lord, like Gideon. He said, okay, no, I know this has happened once, but I'm going to test it again.
That's a really good one, actually.
I'm going to test it again.
Yeah.
If she calls me at this time, then I know that she's my wife. And she called him at that time. So from there, it's like, okay, we have some evidence. We actually know that, okay, I've really put a fleece before the Lord. And this has happened. Even one of our other couples, which we're going to get on here, Bernie, you know it's about you. But he was like, okay, I don't know who I'm supposed to be marrying. I'm not quite sure, but I know it's from this household because the Lord has kind of led me here. But they've got more than one daughter. So he said, Lord, okay, I'm going to put a fleece before you. The first person to make me a cup of tea, that will be my wife, right? And the person he thought was going to make him the tea, which always makes him the tea every single time he comes, did not make him the tea that time. And he was like really shocked. And then the person who never ever even bothers about him
puts the kettle on. Hey, buddy, would you like some tea?
Would you like some tea? And he's like,
huh?
That was shocking,
yes.
right? Yeah. But he didn't then immediately like get on his knees and be like, sister, you're the one. No, he has a bit more game than that.
Serenade with some music.
Serenade with some music, spend a bit more time with her. Guys, what we're saying is even if God has shown you that this is the one, have some game.
Yeah.
Please.
So where did they get a game from, I guess, is the other question. Where did the guys
We're going to do a video about game, but we need to know about the one, right? So what are we looking for when we're talking about the one?
And I think for me, when I'm thinking about the one, or when I thought about you, the thing that really came to me was about, you know, values and principles.
That's important.
So that person,
how does that person live their life? And that's really important because our story, if you've watched How We Met, part 1 and part 2, very important to watch those. You will see that even though, Mark, you did have a soft spot for me, when our values were misaligned, it just wasn't going to work. Like, we did try when we were younger, and it just, nothing came of it because at that time, you know, Mark's living his Christian life, I'm living my worldly life. The values weren't aligning, it just wasn't going. So Mark was like, do you know what? Because I love the Lord and the things of the Lord, and right now,
you're on your prodigal
daughter journey. I'm going to take a step back and leave you to it, right? But God did bring me back to you. And at the time when my values were aligning with your values, it was the right time. So guys, it might also be the wrong timing. Right person, wrong timing.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Wrong timing.
You have to be aware of that. I think for me, character is so important. That is one of my top things. Character.
And what is it about character that's so important? So when you think about character, what are you looking for?
When I think about character, I'm looking for a person. For me, my personal thing, I know some people might not be Christian, but for me, it's like, how do they love the Lord? What's their relationship like with the Lord?
Okay.
Right? Is God like second, third, maybe fourth down the line? Or is he number one?
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Does he have a genuine love and passion for the Lord? I'm not talking about just going to church and ticking the boxes.
That's good.
I'm talking about genuine love and passion. That's what I saw in you. That's the first thing.
Second thing.
Look at him having like smiling. It's like, oh yeah.
Of course.
The second thing was, how does he treat me? Right? How does he respect me? So even though I was in my wilderness journey, guys, if you listen to the first and second part of How We Met, even when I was in my wilderness journey, Mark never took advantage of me. That was like the most significant sign that this guy was the right guy, because there were so many times, weren't there, Mark? Like, there were so many times, guys,
I feel like those character things that's bob in their head.
I used to be out there drinking, smoking, clubbing, whatever it was, right? There are so many times that I was vulnerable.
YOLO!
Living my life! And Mark could have easily, being an older guy, number one, you know, and us being alone sometimes, could have easily taken advantage of me. Like, he was always like very like removed. You'd always fold your hands quite a lot. Actually, you weren't really like.
I'm doing now.
Yeah, and I really respected that. Like, when I look back, I was like, wow, in my whole life, Mark is the one guy who has never taken advantage of me in any situation, like regardless of how many times he could have. And that for me was like, wow. Girls, if you have a guy that is willing to take advantage of you in any capacity, whether that's speak to you rudely, whether that's get you to buy him excess gifts, whether that's, I don't know, get him to pay for his rent, or I don't know how he's taking advantage of you, but if somebody's taking advantage of you, I would seriously question whether that guy is the right guy for you. Yeah, that's my thing, character.
As you're talking about, I was thinking about how you were able to actually tick all of my boxes. And I think the thing that comes to mind is we had such a rich conversation.
That's true.
When we were still dating.
Yeah, we did.
And I don't think for me I had that kind of a connection with anybody else. And so I do remember vividly that actually, wow, you know, I love the way we talk. I love the way we engage. I love the way we you know, have these conversations that, you know, think about the future, you know, what we're trying to build together, or what we'd like to build. We're on the same wavelength.
And that brings to mind that scripture about being equally yoked. Guys, okay. Right. It is so important to be equally yoked. And I'm not talking about equally financially yoked, guys. Nowadays, people have this very shallow thing like, oh, I want my guy to be earning X amount of money. I want my guy to have a house. I want my guy to have a BMW.
He's got to be a doctor.
I want my guy to have this. He must be a doctor. Okay, they could have all of that and
lose it tomorrow.
If you've watched our video about pregnant and jobless, you will understand that while we have a wonderful big house, Mark lost his job like that because God felt it was necessary to try us financially. Okay, so actually, if we go on that basis, ooh, you're gonna struggle. When the struggle gets real, you're gonna struggle because if those things fall away, what have you got, right? So I think it's really, really important that you're equally yoked because that conversation and stuff like that that's what's gonna keep you. That same love for the Lord, that's what kept us. That ability to, okay, what do we pull on? What are our resources in these difficult times? That's what keeps you when you're in the marriage, right?
And I think the other thing that comes to mind, you're talking about equally yoked. So you mentioned how the other person's got to love the Lord, but that also has to be reciprocated, right?
100%.
In that the other person has to be a praying person. So you want a relationship that you can actually together, you know, even when things are good, you know, say, hey, you know, would you like to pray with me on this particular topic? Or, you know, I'm praying for this, can you pray with me?
Definitely.
And if the other person's like, well, you know, I don't know, or, you know. But in most cases, to be fair, when people are dating, there's always this, you know, camaraderie, people working together, you know, especially when it comes to prayer. Well, I hope so. I don't know. But this is what we're talking about.
We hope.
This is what you want to look for because these are the things, as you've just been saying, that will matter when you go into the relationship.
Definitely. And also, like, are they showing you any red flags? Like, are they yelling at you when you forget to do something or you make a mistake? Or are they calling you persistently and get angry when you don't return their calls? Are they texting you and asking you where you are all the time? Are they commenting on what you're wearing and saying they don't like it because of X, Y, and Z? Are they telling you that you shouldn't hang around with your friends because they don't like your friends? Like, those guys are all major red flags. Run! Run as fast as you can!
Right.
Because once that knot is tied, it's going to be 10 times harder to run, guys. Please, please, please. If you are seeing these red flags in your relationship.
And I think for me, one of the primary things is it's how I feel when I'm with that person.
That's a nice one.
Do I feel safe? Do I feel
safety?
happy?
Psychological
Do
safety.
I feel comfortable at ease? You know, is it easy for us to have conversation?
Yeah.
Do I feel respected? Do I feel appreciated?
Yes.
Do I feel honoured?
Yes.
And does that person actually just make me feel like I can be myself?
Yeah, do they bring out the best in you?
Bring out the best in me. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Look at what you're like when you're with that person, right? Because sometimes people just be bringing out, I don't know, parts of me like some people just bring out the worst in me, like wretched. But yeah, Mark definitely always brought out the best in me.
Well, so did you, Bethel.
Oh, thank
So did
you.
you.
That is
So
so
did you.
sweet. But I think things that you can do is like from early on, have conversations with the person that you think is the one, right? Have these conversations, find out if your values align, find out if they've got a good character. Have like, you know, I don't know, some conversation starters, you know, what are their political views? What are their religious views? What are their cultural views?
Hey, sometimes, to be fair, you might never agree on those things. But, well, of course, you might never agree. But that doesn't mean you can't actually be, you know, equally yoked or hitched together.
But that's not equally yoked, though.
No. It's just that, you know, sometimes you'll have opposing views. For example, when it came to voting, there were instances or situations where you voted differently. Yeah, you know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's being okay with the differences.
I think it depends on how strongly those views are, like,
Absolutely.
and how embedded those views. Because you can have views where it's like pretty much like, okay, before, although I had some political views, I wasn't really in the politicals. I didn't really know much about it, so they were very loose political views. It didn't really bother me. Some people, they really hold their political views like, no, this has to be, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And when it's like that, that's when it's really dangerous because you can get into a lot of conflict in your relationship because you don't see eye to eye on everything because somebody's left wing, somebody's right wing, and it's just not working out, you know.
So there's a simple gauge, a simple barometer, a simple way of measuring whether or not the person is the one.
Yeah, I think another thing as well is family, guys. Look at their family background. We're not asking you to be judgy.
What, do a genogram?
Do a genogram. But like, honestly, we're not asking you to be judgy, and this is not in every case, but do look at their family. Are the parents together? What's the parents' relationship like? Does he have siblings? How do they interact? How do the family interact? Like, all these kind of things.
What do they value?
Yes.
You know, what's precious to them?
It'll give you insight.
It'll give you a lot of insight.
A lot of insight into what your future is going to become. Because if this person has grown up in this environment, these value systems, and that's the way they understand the world, that's their worldview. And you are not going to be able to change that, my friend. No, you're not. The only person that can change somebody is God. And that is when the person is willing to change.
Love, because God is love.
God is
a lot of love. Yeah.
But yeah, you don't get into a relationship thinking I'm going to change them.
No.
No.
That is counterintuitive.
Don't do it. Just don't do it. Do not. Don't do it. If you are thinking, oh, they'll change when I get married, run. Please run, because they won't change when you get married. In fact, they'll get worse when you get married. Why? Because you're theirs. The ring is on the finger. There's hardly an escape route.
And there's nobody to stone them.
Yeah, there's no one to stone them. Exactly. It's so dangerous, guys. If you're having thoughts that this guy needs to change in this and this area, you've broached that conversation with him and he ain't willing to change, I would be seriously running as fast as you can. I hope this video has been helpful for you guys. Let us know if you want us to do a video about like some chat-up lines and some game. I think that one would be a really good video. I think that would be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's just taking me back, actually, chat-up lines.
Chat-up lines. What chat-up line did you use for me? Nothing.
In the next video.
See you later.